What's up, guys? It's Austin from Yu-Gi-Oh! Fury. Today I'm going to do a 5 budget decks. All these decks are going to be under like $50, say, give or take, depending on if you use like really good staples or not. But this is just going to be like just for the cards you're going to need. So let's get right into it. So first off is going to be Phantasm Spiral Dragons. Phantasm Spirals are very, very, very cheap. Like you can get they're all commons and rares. This deck is also just happens to be very good. It's known for being able to break ridiculous boards. It's kind of hard to get around, and cards like Skill Drain and things like that are like devastating in this deck. But on to the next one. So next on the list is Metal Foe Gokis. This deck is also very cheap. You can get it for around $30 or $40, like the entire deck. This deck also has a lot of help from the latest ban list since Rescue Rabbit came off the list. The Confusion Link does a bunch of stuff. I've heard it's very consistent. It doesn't have like a very like high ceiling, but it can do some good things. It takes advantage of the rank 4 pool and also a number of the new links that came out, and also their own link, Goki Ogre, I think it's called, is also very, very good. And their spell card Goki Rematch is one of the best spell cards for any archetype right now. It's just all around a really solid deck for the money. Next is Dynamis. Dynamis is a personal favorite of mine. I use it myself. You can literally get all the Dynamis for like $10, and depending on what version of Dynamis you want to make, you can spend another like 20 and make it really good. And they can do a lot of things. They can get into Totally Awesome, Cyber Dragon Infinity. Those two are some of the two strongest not synchros, Xyz in the game, which is, both of them are absolutely ridiculous. They can get into a lot of the Draco Slayer overlays and synchros. They can do a lot of things with the pendulum support. They're very versatile. I can't really think of a whole lot they can't do. They're really hard to, I guess, like destroy because their scales protect themselves. Whenever Zodiac was still running around, they're like one of the best matchups against Zodiac just for that reason. And I really, really like Dynamis. They're one of my favorite decks, actually. Next on the list is Deities. Deities is also a favorite of mine because I also use Deities. Deities are absolutely ridiculous. Deities are so versatile. If you stop one of their combos, it doesn't even make a difference because they have something else to do. They're very hard to stop. They make ridiculous boards. The only thing that's bad about these is they don't really have much defensive play. They don't really disrupt very much with your opponent. They mostly just make big monsters and then do stuff during your turn. Like they do some disruption when it's your turn, and then they try to attack for a lot of attack because most of their monsters have a lot of attack. You can run Full Force Virus in this. Strike doesn't really phase this deck very much because they can always just do something else. Lost Wind doesn't really phase it very much. Dimensional Barrier doesn't even phase it because if they play Dimensional Barrier and say they call Fusion, is like, okay, that's cool, I'll just synchro because they can really realistically, deities can do anything. They can pendulum, they can synchro, they can fusion, they can Z's. The only thing they really have a problem with doing is pendulum. Everything else they do just as easy as they would anything else. They're very versatile, one of my favorite decks. The only thing about them is they don't have much defensive play. So if you're okay with kind of just sitting back with big monsters and letting your opponent do all the work, then it's a deck for you. But otherwise, I'd give it a try regardless. It's probably the most expensive deck on this list because it comes in a structure deck, but some of the cards don't come in the structure deck, like Dark. Like some of these cards can come to maybe $1 a piece, but it's still in our budget range around $40. So it definitely is a good pick for this, and I recommend anyone to at least try it once. And last but definitely not least, ABC Dragon Buster. ABC Dragons are very, very consistent. They search a lot. They have a lot of defensive play as well as offensive play. They're probably the best meta option on this, and they're also really cheap. 3 structure decks, and you pretty much have the deck. You might have to buy some gold gadgets and some photon thrashers, But I think Photon Thrasher's like 70 cents, and gadgets are like $1 or two a piece. So you're looking at about $40, and that leaves you a little room to add in some different staples and things you might want. And especially with a lot of packs being or cards being reprinted lately, a lot of staples are also cheap, so you could probably handle that too. Uh, can't really say anything bad about ABCs because I don't really play them that much. I have an ABC deck, but I don't really play it a whole lot. I just know it's really good. It's really consistent. It kind of loses out to strike because if you just summon your ABC Buster and then they strike it, then oh well. They're pretty good in link format too because they can just link and then all the ABC pieces just go to the graveyard and then they can banish it for the Buster Dragon. So links for them don't really make them lose any cards in the grand scheme of things because they can just banish from the graveyard Diffusion Buster Dragon. Uh, Buster Dragon has a lot of force on the board. He really does change up the game depending on if you have two of them. It can be very oppressive. That banishing. The only bad thing about his effect is that you have to have cards in your hand, which a lot of times I found that I didn't have cards in my hand, so I couldn't really use his effect. But it is a really good option. Very cheap. The most meta deck on this list. And it's definitely the bang for your buck that you'd probably want out of all five of these, unless it doesn't really fit your play style. Then maybe pick something else on this list, or just pick something completely different. But anyway, guys, yeah, that's it.